Welcome back to Trading Basics. Today we're going to discuss the stochastic oscillator. So what is the stochastic? Here's the definition right here. Developed by George C. Lane in the late 1950s, the oscillator that shows the location of the close relative to the high-low range over a set number of periods. According to an interview with Lane, the stochastic oscillator doesn't follow price, it doesn't follow volume or anything like that. It follows the speed. Momentum changes direction before price. As such, bullish and bearish divergences in stochastic oscillator can be used to foreshadow reversals. This was the first and most important signal that Lane identified. To anticipate a future reversal, as the stochastic oscillator is range bound, it is also useful for identifying overbought or oversold levels. So that's a long definition. Let's jump in to see how do we make this thing work. Like kind of how it works as price, right? We use this. Both of these topped at the same time. Both of these bottomed at the same time. It does not mean that every time it gets to the top, that's a good time to short. Is kind of caution. This move's getting a little overheated in one direction or the other, right? So as we can see here, I use the Stokes a lot, but I use them as with some other information, right? So if I see a Stoke topping out here, this example here, let's say the Stoke had redlined, you're all the way up here, right? But the move's not stopping, it's still going up, still going up. Now we're putting in a little sideways action here, right? Higher high. As this starts coming down, you can kind of tell, okay, there's probably some weakness brewing. And the stochastic started coming down before price. Exactly what the definition was explaining, right? A good buy opportunity on your hand when it's down here, right? So we're setting up. If I was looking at this exact setup, you could toss it. Basically, you got a little channel here, right? Okay, so if you put in your little channel here, thing down here, you say, hey, I think we got a good buy, just because you could have bought the bottom of this after it had held here. Could have bought the second bottom here, and your Stoke starts coming up, right? So it looks like you're going to have a move to the upside before it happened. But you could have just waited, and as soon as this level broke to buy here, blew all the way to the upside, right? Then you have a little exhaustion. Look at the Stokes. They start breaking down before price. So it gives you that signal that you're running out of steam, right? That now before price a lot of the times. So something I want to show you, sometimes how I can identify, it's one of the ways you can identify some longer term trend stuff, right? Here's on a weekly. Come down here, right? So what you're noticing, or what I'm noticing, is these Stokes only come down below this line in extreme volatile times, right? And I could say, okay, every time that weekly Stoch has gotten down here, it was a good time to buy. Now on a weekly time frame, that's way too large of a time frame for you to narrow in and see where should I target, right? Weekly Stoch indicator, right here was an excellent time to buy. Again, showed you right here, it bottomed out at the absolute bottom that time. Now it looks like we're rolling over, and the going here on the weekly. So when this weekly crosses, you could have, there's better ways to identify really on a lower time frame. But this kind of tells me on a macro, on a higher level time frame, okay, this area was probably a good buy area. It's down there, or saying when it's up here, you should just sell, because you can see here, if you sold here at 372, you missed the whole move up to 475, right? Because it can just wiggle around up here. It can stay up here for quite a while. But you'll see on something like the SPY, just doesn't. Here it did. After 2008, we had that 2008 crash. Boom, 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 we're coming down. And then once it rolled over, you just wiggle down here for quite a while, really. Right? It doesn't stay under that line for very long. It doesn't mean that's the bottom, right? Because you can see even here, let's say you bought, it was under this line, you decided I'm going to buy here at this absolute bottom here. And then it comes back down. Stoch only comes to here. Price. So you still want to use those previous lessons, your horizontal support and resistance. You want to use things like that on top of the Stochs, right? So you want to use these with other indicators. So we can see here we're bottoming out on a weekly, a 200 weekly, and that Stochs went under. But if you notice, if we get down to onto a granular level, the bottom was put in here. It's a little longer to populate. But then you can go down to a daily type time frame, and you can say, okay, on a daily time frame, around that same time, you had started bottoming out. But look, Stochs actually went lower here. But as you see, Stochs started to recover. You have a big bullish engulfing candle here. That means probably some move to the upside, right? And then something that happened the opposite, we have a big old bearish engulfing, and then close below. That was a pretty nasty candle last week, close, which most likely signals a little further downside. Maybe we come back down here and put in a higher low and base off of this weekly 200 again. But either way, it's really interesting. When I'm scalp trading, I'm generally using like an hourly or below. I even like to use the 5 minute. So you can break it down to this 5 minute Stoch. Good ideas on when to sell, when to buy. This 15 minute has been pretty golden throughout my trading career. This 15 minute, it can be money. Takes a little bit longer to play out, but it 4 to 8 hours to play out. But I've had some really good trading experience with just the Stoch on a 15-minute can do pretty well. But you still need to use your risk management. You still need your strategies for when to know when you're wrong. Stochastic oscillator to make all your trades. It's really just an extra indicator to use as confirmation, right? If I'm taking this trade on this 15-minute, okay, Stokes are starting to roll over, right? We get a little bit of a pullback twice. Why not a third time, right? Three's a trend, and your Stokes are rolling over. And then what happens, so you could have shorted this green 55 retest somewhere around here, and then your confirmation was here. This is a little aggressive if you started to short here, but that's kind of how I trade. I'm a little bit aggressive. Your confirmation. It trades above the previous close, closes below this candle. That's a bearish engulfing candle on the 15-minute with the Stokes headed down. It's confirmation that probably going to see a little more downside coming into tomorrow. At this time, 3 o'clock. So this is already closed for the day, but I would expect a little more follow through and it maybe come back down and retest this bottom here. If you're bullish, hope for a double bottom, but it'll probably line up with when these Stokes come down here. Price action will probably be a little lower. So just a few ways that you can use this for different trading strategies. On these higher time frames, you're going to be using it for a swing trade. This 2-day is really good. I like this 2-day. 2-day's been getting it pretty good. Another indicator in with this, and it adds an even higher probability of success. That next indicator is called the BBWP. I'll cover that in detail, and we can get into that. So I hope you learned a little bit about stochastic, how it works. It's a momentum oscillator. So, but it can give you signals that price action is exhausted or the momentum in that direction is getting exhausted. You're running out of room before you need to do a little bit of a pullback in the opposite direction, signaling a little bit of a reversal coming. So something to pay attention to. It's definitely it's a go-to for me, and I always have it on when I'm trading. So thank you very much. You have a wonderful day. The next video on trading basics will be on RSI. And then as the program progresses, we'll get into more and more technical.